April 21st, 2021. I saw yesterday there was a Greek reference to Hellenism in an alphabet I could read. There was spoke of or a Coptic read for cognition of, oh, I don't know how to pronounce it in Greek, but it looked like outer borough, which is interesting, being that I'm in Queens, which is the outer borough of Isle of Man, Hat, N. There's a piece on this morning, and when you look at the statuesque, it has my nose, the flat nose, like recognizable face for Minerva, for some of the Romanesque and the Greek statues of ancient heraldry or heritage. So I'm able to see myself in that image, but I do not know the backstories, the mythology, the different layers of context. Again, while I've been held in New York, while the city's under some kind of I don't know what, it's been a problem. But I see even here on the CBS this morning, this word, it says that Russia and Belarus are banned from Wimbledon. In Wimbledon, there's the Wim. I mean, it's Valkyrie. I could read it out, but I don't have to. I mean, if you understand the Kiap words that are buried inside of that word, it speaks for itself.
This year's Wimbledon tournament, he's trying to say, because of...
But when the respectful that are trying to, teach something on here, when they speak, I am unclear how my piece fits in. I am the flower in the meadow. I have a hummingbird. I am an 8. He is a 7. Right now, the phone system is a +1. And the phone system where I am, the area code is 718. In meadow and blades of grass even, it is so easy to know I'm a 718. I was born 19th century, 78. The numbers speak for themselves at Valkyrie. I do not understand how, as a flower in a meadow, how I was just, why the hummingbird didn't show and did not, whatever. It is so unclear why my 8 was withheld from 7 and without anyone to look up to.
As of President Putin's decision to invade the country of Ukraine, well, at least one leading tennis player, Novak Djokovic, has criticized the move, calling it crazy, while also condemning Russia's war. It's the latest flare-up over Russian athletes and artists finding themselves isolated over the actions of their country. Roxana Saberi has more on the fallout from the war.
With a message of peace, Russian cellist Anastasia Kubekina performed with this Ukrainian pianist and condemned the war as horrifying and unjustified. So she was surprised when organizers canceled her concert in Switzerland, citing her Russian nationality, not the young musician herself.
It was not a clever idea, not the right decision.
Did you feel it was unfair?
I find it so controversial and so not necessary.
Across the West, venues are shunning Russian musicians, ballet dancers, and films in protest against Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
They might just have a message.
In sports, too, Russians have been sidelined, their teams barred from international tournaments, sporting events inside Russia canceled by Formula One and tennis, and their athletes banned from the Paralympics.
It's tragic.
Now,
I just have a message.
In sports, too, Russians have been sidelined. Their teams barred from international tournaments.
These symbols inside the Big Apple, inside of New York, inside Empire State, have not been reinforced. They have not been taught to my position of 8. If in Germano, Tedesco, it's acht. They have not taught me these symbols and what are safe symbols, even without reading. What are family friendly, family safe? They also have taken away the voice. That's what I said, like with the Title IX violation.
Tournaments, sporting events inside Russia canceled by Formula One and tennis. And
again, Formula One and tennis, one is a car and one is a ball that they bounce back and forth, like a larger ping pong, whatever. I understand that, but I don't understand because it's never been taught in any other way.
And their athletes banned from the...
Not in a way that other meadow or blades of grass know how it is. Now, this symbol, just recently, they did not have symbols to explain the main symbol, but I've seen it just recently start to appear in New York again, and I've never seen it before. It used to be, for Olympic, it was 5 circles. Now, all of a sudden, there are 3 open partial circle, like a semicircle, I think they call it. And I don't know what that, I see Paralympics, but I don't know what that pertains to because, again, I don't have anyone to look up to.
Paralympics.
It's tragic, it's painful, but it's necessary.
Analyst Jonathan Isles says such boycotts work a lot like economic sanctions. They penalize Russian people for the actions of their president.
And now when he says painful, I feel, is he saying like pane, like the bread from the bread in the circus? Like, because he looks like he still has bread, and I am having pain, PAIN, not in a... like, it's a pain in the neck to have to live amongst eyesores because you never get to feast on anything beautiful or artistic or interesting in the ear. Not like that kind of pain. That's more nuisance. It's the actual physical, metaphysics, right? Metaphysics. The actual physicality where the knees crack, the lungs don't even breathe well anymore. I mean, the satchel is starting to bloat up, but again, these are atmospheric conditions and weather conditions that go into other management areas and some form of other technological problem.
None of this is, of course, going to change the Putin regime's policies. But it's a daily reminder to ordinary Russians about how isolated their country really is now.
He says it's happened in the past. In 1980, the U.S. and its allies boycotted the Moscow Olympics after the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan.
Never even heard of it. If this is part of the empire, why was the Empire State not alerted that this was going on?
Afghanistan. 4 years later, the USSR retaliated, skipping the games in Los Angeles.
The sportsmen and women and the artists that are banned are sometimes the biggest unintended victims.
But they are victims.
If you're a citizen of that state, you are treated as part of that state.
Since the war in Ukraine began, Russian soprano Anna Netrebko and conductor Valery Gergiev lost prestigious jobs after they refused to distance themselves from the Russian president. But Russian-German pianist Igor Levit says most Russian artists have nothing to do with Vladimir Putin and shouldn't be punished for staying silent, since speaking out could endanger their lives.
It is an absolute insanity to strip the concerts away from young Russian musicians just because they're afraid.
Russians against war.
Yet Levit and Russian rapper Oxymoron, who have put on concerts to...
I just found out. I know what an oxymoron is. And then Raw, I just spoke of the other day. I did not realize that I knew there had to have been an acronym and a power behind the Raw, because they make Power Light of it in an entertainment field within my local whatever that I've heard of. So I knew it had significance. I just didn't know what, because again, there's no pieces tying it in with information.
To raise money for Ukrainian refugees, and the grandfather of Russian rock, Boris Grebenshchikov, appear ready for the risks, just like Kobekina.
Are you afraid for your family back home in Russia?
Of course. And because we don't know what the next day will bring us.
Still, she says she'll keep showing solidarity with Ukrainian.
She is in some place with 22-foot ceilings. I am in some other, I don't know if it's a bird cage, but that's my ceiling. The white is the ceiling, the yellow is where it ends in a cubit volume.
And using music to unite, even if it can't stop the war. For CBS Mornings, Roxana Saberi, London.
I mean, too bad. You hear about the atrocities in Ukraine, and you can understand the desire to sanction Russia, but to hit individual Russians feels like the wrong decision to me.
Too bad. In order to hurt Putin, you end up hurting other people that have nothing to do with it.
There's a difference between the leadership and the people.
Absolutely. Yes, there is.
We'll be right back.
And that's their conclusions at chairs or whatever they're at a low table. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. When I went to, Claudia, I think works Pew, when I went to, which I just found out about, I had no idea, when I went to her graduation in London, I think it was London, back in 1980 something, they referred to me as Hela, Hella. That's something to do with Ragnarok. But that was where Buckingham Palace, and we saw the outside with their guard, how they dressed, with Big Ben, which my son Benjamin is whatever. And that's what they called me while I was there. But I had no Viking, and I confirmed for them there, face to face, that they were not teaching Norse, and I did not know what the word Norse meant. I did not know what the word Viking meant, that the people in where I was being held, or where I was growing up is what they call it. They were not speaking of anything Viking, nothing Norse. They had sent a Russian representative in. They confirmed that they were not teaching Greek or Russian in school, nor anything Germanic for the classes I was attending. It was strictly English. And even at the English level, the word government was never spoken. And there were several other keywords that, I was just blinking when the person asked, when they sent an adult to ask, because these words were new to me, Sometimes I had heard the sounds repeated, but they didn't ever teach what it looks like or what it means in frightening details. In frightening details of my life, but details that were very significant. Wouldn't have been so frightening if they had actually taught me, so this way I could have performed better. But it's been very difficult, and I don't know how and to whom is responsible. There's a lot of interlocking pieces here. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.